So we have at the core of what it is that we do, a real focus on innovation, but that's not where we started. We transformed, I would say, 2 times, and in the last transformation, we really focused on an attempt to build a product, a SaaS product, and bring it to market. And during that process, the evolution from kind of a boutique consulting firm hourly basis to providing a product in the marketplace, not a simple journey, so many different mistakes. Had a partnership with someone who was actually going to help us do that. The partnership kind of fell apart and we kind of got left with, do we go forward or do we kind of pack it up and not go forward? What we learned in that whole process was resilience and the fact that continuous innovation is really important.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
What does it take to innovate your company? What does it take to innovate the products that you have? And what does it take to innovate within your marketplace? All innovation requires you to create an organization where people aren't afraid to fail, for you to create an organization where people are willing to stretch themselves and grow and expand beyond where they are today. And innovation is really an important piece for many businesses I know. Leading through innovation is our topic today. Our special guest is Kathleen Brunner. She is the founder CEO of Acumen Analytics. And what we talk about is leading through innovation and what she has seen, how she's evolved over the years to be able to create the kind of growth she's had. They made the Inc. 5000 this past year and really an impressive company. And Kathleen shares some of the things that have made them who they are today. So if you're thinking about innovation, this is the episode to lean into. Now, you may be on the journey to grow your company or maybe innovate it, but you may want to think about what does it take for you as a leader to be the leader that your people deserve, to be powerful, to create a space where people feel empowered and appreciated and heard. All of those things are absolutely necessary. So my hope is that you'll want a game plan for you to evolve as a leader. And inside that game plan, there's a few things that you need to be aware of. Part of that's skill sets, part of that's energy management, part of it's mindset shifts, strategies. All of these things make you the leader that you are. Or you have the ability to make that shift all on your own, or you can reach out into the network and do it much faster with a coach. My hope is that I piqued your interest and you're interested in having a conversation with me. No obligation whatsoever. And I promise not to even sell you anything, but I want to connect with you about what is getting in the way of your being a stronger leader, driving growth and really pushing to that next level. If you're curious about that, just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call. Being a powerful leader is not just something that happens over time. It's done with intention. And you can speed up the process by truly understanding what is getting in your way. And I can help you do that. Just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call today. Now, here's the interview with Kathleen. Kathleen, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Excited to have you on the podcast. We're going to dive in just a moment. Tell us a little bit about your company, Acumen Analytics.
Yes, Acumen Analytics. We're located just outside of Philadelphia. We are an innovation leader in the life sciences. And what we do is help the life sciences folks transform digitally to achieve continuous improvement. But the real focus is better patient outcomes. How can we help them in partnership to achieve their goals? And we work really hard on focusing on those core values.
I'm kind of curious, and I know medicine and life science is a really big topic, but what do you see as the next big thing that is going to make an impact in our lives?
Well, digital transformation in the life sciences is really going to be a significant impact. And digital crosses so many different areas. So technology is one thing, right? That's racing and changing continuously. But the life sciences folk, they have to stay focused on the patient, which means you just can't pick up every new idea and technology without looking at it, vetting it, and testing it. But I do see the digital transformation moving paper to glass, taking advantage of all of this new broadband capability, getting the therapies where the patient lives and resides. Those kinds of things I think are going to be significant and transformational.
Beautiful. Let's dive into our core topic today. My team is always on the lookout for CEOs like yourself and founders who have great stories to tell. What do you think has really created the kind of company that you have today? Like what's really behind all that?
So we have at the core of what it is that we do, a real focus on innovation, but that's not where we started. We transformed, I would say, 2 times. And in the last transformation, we really focused on an attempt to build a product, a SaaS product, and bring it to market. And during that process, the evolution from kind of a boutique consulting firm hourly basis to providing a product in the marketplace, not a simple journey, so many different mistakes. Had a partnership with someone who was actually going to help us do that. The partnership kind of fell apart and we kind of got left with, do we go forward or do we kind of pack it up and not go forward? What we learned in that whole process was resilience and the fact that continuous innovation is really important. But we also learned that we need to fail fast. And what I mean by that is you can have a roadmap, you can have a strategy, you can have a plan, but it needs to evolve and you continuously have to reevaluate. Otherwise, staying on the same course without readjusting and then scrapping what's not working to reinvent.
When you think about your team rallying around this concept of failing fast and continuous innovation, what do you do that we can learn from?
We really focus on this idea of, we have what's called like Acumen Labs, and it's kind of like an internal think tank, but it's not an elite think tank. Every single person in the organization is part of it. And the ideas that come out of it are not just product or customer facing, and while many are, and we leverage design theory as part of our thinking process. But I'll give a short story, and that is we were looking for a way to kind of teach design theory to new folks that join the team, but not in that arduous sort of video-based methodology. And so one of our team members came up with this idea, which I think is awesome, and every one of us still love it. We have what's called a t-shirt competition every year. So we break up into teams, and the idea is to design a t-shirt teaching the design theory methodology that we use. And they come up with all these different t-shirt options. And at the end of the year, somewhere around October, because we actually send them out for print, we as an organization, we pick, but we leverage the thinking and design theory about picking and strategy. And then one t-shirt wins. Everyone gets the t-shirt, we print it, plus we frame it in a couple of different locations within the business so that we're kind of reminded. And it is so hard to pick because they are so different in their approach, their topic, their content and design, but it's an awesome experience. And it's a really great team building project too.
I love these ideas. And this is one reason why we have the show, because I've never heard of anything like this. If you've got to innovate and really challenging your people, I mean, certainly it's about the product, but just like doing it on the own business and how you guys are aligning together is a great idea. When you think about leading a group of people through innovation, what have you learned maybe the hard way in that process?
I think one of the things that I've really had the opportunity to learn as part of this evolution as an organization and some of the fits and starts and failures that we've had is that it's really important to keep the organization as the focal point of decision making, not me as an individual, what's going to benefit me the best, or not maybe one unique individual within the organization, but that the organization has to be the focus. And that's not always easy. I believe the servant leadership role is the way that I try and operate, but that means, putting the organization first. That sometimes creates a situation where a difficult decision, while you want to be liked, and likability is a key part of the team strategy and cohesiveness, making the decision is sometimes hard, which then, drops you down on the likability factor. But you still have to make it. And that, I think, is something that I've learned that has reshaped the way that I approach decision-making and communication.
Hold on for a second. Kathleen just talked about likability and leadership. Do you want to be liked? Well, we all do at some level, but I know that some things can get in the way of you being the leader you need to be. So let me tell a story to you. Now, this is a short version of this story, but I had a leader come to me and said, you know what? Things just aren't going the way I want to in my business. And as we were chatting, he says, I think I'm too nice. I said, well, what happens when you're too nice? He goes, well, when someone tells me that the report's going to be there on Friday for our next meeting and it doesn't show up, I always let them off the hook. It's like, well, you say always. And it's like, yeah, With this one individual, it happens every time. For the last 4 weeks, I've let them off the hook on this same report. And it's just, crazy for us to sit back and look at this as outsiders and say, you would never do that. But he had the problem of being too nice. One of the things I did in my executive coaching was help him understand that that was getting in the way of him being a powerful leader. And then he made the shift, and a lot of things came with that, but the impact was phenomenal. Likability is something you may be thinking about, but I want you to really think about what will it take for you to be the most powerful leader you need to be for your team, for your organization, for your clients, for your partners, and then be that person. Back to Kathleen. I know another part of what you guys do is flexibility, and I think that's become something we've all had to look at differently, but in the context of your business, what does that mean, flexibility?
So we are, as I think I mentioned, a technology company, which means that everything's moving quickly, but we're also in the life sciences space, which means people matter. Flexibility in our mind means that we need to continuously look at what it is that we're doing, and it's a key part of our mission and core values. Are we doing this in the best way? Is this the best path forward? Is there another option? And we kind of take a look at a focus on what is the next big play. So being able to shift and change direction in an agile method so that you're continuously moving forward or trying to move forward.
When you look at your journey as a leadership, Kathleen, looking back, what skills did you have to develop to get to where you are today?
Wow, a lot. I think that everything that I've experienced has kind of taught me something. I didn't come to the table with all of these. One thing that I've tried to focus on as I learned over time is to be continuously a learner, to constantly be thinking about not my space, the technology or life sciences space, but everything, including things like podcasts like this one. Where can I get another viewpoint? I read a lot. I think it's important to stay on top of what's happening in my region, in my area, globally. So I think continuous learning is really something that I've over the years learned that it's something I like, but it's something that it's taught me a lot and really helped me as a leader.
When you think about moving forward, how would that change as the company continues to evolve?
How will the continuous
leadership skills that you think that you need?
Well, I think that the idea of continuous learning is going to open up another area for a key strategy or a focus area that I've not yet become a master of, or master, I should say. That's a loose use of that term. I would say better people skills, more collaboration. There's so much opportunity to learn in the people space. And if you think about the transformational change occurring right now in the workplace, I just think there's so much that we have to learn about how we collaborate going forward. What's the new workplace going to look like? So it's exciting, but I just think there's just so much opportunity to learn more.
Our numbers tell us that you have a fairly low turnover rate, pretty high retention of employees. What do you think that's attributed to?
I think that, first of all, let me say that I can't thank my team enough because they are the key to that. The team themselves is part of what keeps the turnover low. I think that the fact that we are more of a matrix organization in our approach to the way that we do work and not hierarchical is attractive to people because each member gets an opportunity to lead the entirety of the project or initiative. And I also think that the idea of innovation and this idea of constant learning that we kind of bring into the workplace is something that's important for them. I think our mission as well is a key part.
What would we see across the organization with this matrix approach versus the hierarchical, which we're familiar with this like top down or even bottom up hierarchies? What would we see with a matrix?
So the way that we kind of try and do it is as each opportunity or project kind of comes along, or even a customer that we're rolling out a work effort for, we take a look across the organization who has the best skills to head that initiative or effort up, and that person then picks their team. I'm usually last pick. on the teams because they have much more to offer than I do. But it's also a different perspective as far as responsibility. They chart the course, they're responsible for the success, but each project presents a different opportunity. So it's not the same people all the time. So they get to share, you might be a leader on the team as the scribe or the note taker, but, so I think it just gives everyone a robust opportunity to kind of learn more with each opportunity.
I want to get personal for a second here, not too personal, but just a moment to look at your own leadership. When you think about who you've become as a leader, how do you put into words so that we understand how to really drive innovation across our teams?
Well, so, each day I think is a new opportunity for me to learn from the members of my team. I think I mentioned I do like to read and blogs, podcasts, et cetera, like that. But I think that the interaction from the team that we have and their feedback, the way that we do retrospectives, the design theory process that we put in place, and the fact that we do have innovation as a core pillar of our foundation and mission, that they kind of bring the ideas themselves to us. And I'm fortunate for that opportunity to work with these folks.
Now, hold on one more second. Kathleen's been talking about getting your team to bring their ideas to you. Now, this is the dream of every leader I know, is to have a team that doesn't depend on the leadership to actually bring ideas, that they're actually bringing ideas that are worthwhile, they've thought through, and that are making an impact in the organization. And when you actually see those ideas out into the real world, they're engaged at a different level. So how do you encourage people to bring their ideas? One thing, you want to empower them. You really want to have the kind of conversations to get them to share those ideas and for you to hold back your giving of insight until the very end. Leaders know that you want to make sure that others' ideas are heard. And when you speak up first, it changes the momentum and energy inside the room. They're willing to attach to that. And I'm not saying they're yes people, but you want to make sure that you are empowering them and holding back so that they share those ideas and don't just give in. Make sure that they are recognized and rewarded for those ideas, and they'll continue to flow. Back to Kathleen. What have we not talked about that has helped your company grow to where it is today?
I would say that one thing that I personally have found very important is the peers that I participate, so peer groups that I participate with. We have an advisory board. I find that getting outside of my own space and talking with other folks, coaches, peer groups, as I mentioned, really gives me an opportunity to see what others are doing, learn from others, share mistakes that I've made, and get feedback on those kinds of things. So I think that's been instrumental. I only started participating in some of these more peer-based groups about 5 or 6 years ago, which I would say correlates with what we've been able to accomplish over the past few years.
It's amazing how many people resist those things. They will say they don't have time, they don't have, they're just not the right group, or they haven't found people they align with. And most of them aren't even trying. They've already made up in their mind that this is the way it is without that. When you get advice from someone or get some insight from someone outside your world, what have you found from that? From an example, like, do you resist it at first, or do you look at it with curiosity and move forward?
I would say when I have been asked by a very good professional colleague for quite some time to join a peer organization. And I was like, I don't need that kind of stuff. I've been to school. I know I've been doing this for a while. What I would say is they hold you accountable, but they also ask hard questions. And sometimes there are questions that, you may not necessarily ask yourself. So the question piece is important because it takes it, and it's not questions that are meant to be harmful. They're thoughtful. They're thought provoking, and then holding you accountable for what are you going to do once this question or problem has been kind of put on the table. So I think I can't say enough about it.
We've been focusing this entire episode on how to truly align people toward innovation. What do you plan on doing to make sure that continues to stay a focus and a part of your organization as you grow?
Well, interestingly, as I had mentioned that innovation is kind of a core pillar, one of the strategic roadmaps for my organization is to farther and kind of spread the idea of these peer organizations outside of our company. So we're currently in the planning process of selecting amongst the team a couple of folks for that kind of opportunity. So the company would reimburse for that. And we don't have the firm plan yet, but I think it's been invaluable to me. So I believe it can only help the organization even more so.
We find the same thing with our groups. We have quite a few clients that go through leadership development. And there's a lot of people that are high performers that don't have anywhere to go to talk about how do I lead my 2 or 3 person team, because they've just never led before. And the common things get in the way that founders have to deal with. Founders always go, well, I've always had my hand in this. This is my baby. I need to see it through. And it's got to have this level of quality and excellence. There's just so many common things that we're seeing when we work with different groups across organizations. So Kathleen, I really appreciate you being here to talk about leading through innovation, and I really appreciate you sharing your insight.
Thanks. Wonderful.
This is where I take a chance to recap this, just so that you understand what I'm getting from this interview. Leading through innovation is not something to take lightly. Not every company is going to be on the cutting edge of innovation, but one of the things that Kathleen talked about is being okay with failing. And in fact, looking to fail fast, looking to learn from those failures. And that's a really critical thing, not just at the top level, but across the organization. Because if your people are afraid to fail, if they're afraid that they're going to lose their job because something didn't work out, they're never going to innovate. They're going to stay, safe, and innovation isn't on the safe train. So you want to make sure that you're encouraging that. You're having the kind of conversations. You're putting the design theory in there, if that's what you're doing, and figuring out ways to integrate it across the company consistently. All of these things are important if you're going to lead through innovation. Now, I don't know where your business is and what kind of leadership you are, but my guess is if you're listening to podcasts like this, you want to evolve. You want to be a better, stronger leader, maybe more powerful. If you want to figure out what your plan is, let's get on a call and chat about it. I'd love to talk to you about what's getting in your way. Many times it's blind spots. You don't even know it. So just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call. It's absolutely free. I'd love to support you through your growth as a leader. When you think of leadership and you think of growth, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.